The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to An Open Door on the Arts. My name is Barbara Richer, and I will accompany you as we travel throughout the Capital Region, meeting the amazing artists that so enrich our lives. We have a return visit to make today. I think we've returned here once more, and we will continue to return here because it's a little jewel in Albany. It's the Opalka Gallery, part of the Sage Colleges, and Elizabeth Greenberg, the curator and director of the Opalka Gallery, is with us today to talk about their new fall exhibition that'll be coming up, and we're giving people plenty of time to get ready for it because it'll be wonderful. So I know that it starts August 16th. So
August 23rd.
August 23rd. Oh, I was wrong. Well, I've done that a couple times lately. August 23rd, and I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth before I make any more mistakes.
Well, thanks for having me back.
You're welcome.
So our first, we will actually have two exhibitions this fall, and so I'm here today to talk about the first one, which opens August 23rd and runs through October 9th. So it opens on a Tuesday, closes on a Sunday, and we are open Tuesday through Sunday, closed on Mondays. This exhibition is on the artist Siona Benjamin. It's called Siona Benjamin Beyond Borders. Siona is a fascinating artist. She lives in New Jersey, so she's basically a New York City-based artist. She's originally from the Bene Israel community in Mumbai, India, formerly Bombay. And she's lived in the U.S. now for 25 years, I think, or so, and is an American citizen now. So, but she obviously brought lots of things from her culture with her, and so her art very much weaves together the traditions that she has and the places that she's lived, and so it's she does really fascinating multicultural kind of combinations.
Yes.
And so she's, as she would say, people like to put artists in categories a lot of times. And so is she an Indian artist? Is she an American artist? Is she a feminist artist? And what she would say is, I'm all of those and I'm none of those, that what she wants to be is a good artist. And so, but she is all of those things. And so it's really interesting. So a lot of, in terms of the visuals, you'll definitely see influences from Indian miniature painting and mixed with influences from American pop art and things like that. So it's really like, when you look at it, there's so much going on. And then in terms of concept, so her the quality of her craft is really impressive. She does a lot along with very fine work. She also, she does her own gold leafing, her own marbling. She knows all of these traditional techniques. But the concept behind her work is also really, really strong. And
so we'll actually be able to see, I know you shared with me, and it was very, very impressive, and I want to be sure that people understand this, that she's gone through, she's worked in and through and continues to work in and through many different aspects of her life and the life of India and the mixed people that are there, the Jewish folks, the Muslim folks, the Hindu folks. It's such a melting pot of amazing tradition and art and color and everything.
It is. The culture is really interesting, and I knew nothing about it when I first, saw her work. In fact, one of the first things I thought, which I think a lot of American Jews would think, is, I didn't know there were Jews in India.
Really?
So, a traditional group, not new people who have gone over.
Right.
So there's 3 distinct communities there. The Bene Israel, who have been there for, let's say, 2,000 years, or
Amazing. Of which she's
a long
a part.
time. Yes, of which she's a part. The Colonie Jews, who have also similarly been there quite a long time, and the Baghdadi Jews, who came directly from Baghdad, and it is a more recent, in the last couple hundred years. So they. But these are very small communities compared to India overall. And so what's really interesting is, first of all, the communities have been able to live in peace there for forever, really. And so when you hear about it, when you talk to people about it, they essentially didn't experience anti-Semitism in any way. Like they didn't even know what it was. I've talked to Siona about, why that is and things like that. So some of that will be in the exhibition, some of the cultural background of this. And then the other part of that is, because you're a very small community, you're surrounded by the other communities. So she very much, she's surrounded by the largely Hindu and Muslim, India around her, along with other minorities like the Parsis, who are Zoroastrians. And so she went to, and also Indian Christians. So, as she says, she went to Catholic grade school, Zoroastrian high school. Her best friends when she was a child was one Muslim girl and one Portuguese Christian girl.
Amazing.
So it's really, and she said that was really quite normal in terms of not having these boundaries, basically.
But how enriching. I mean, how enriching when it comes to you so naturally, and then you can draw from all of it.
And I think she's very much brought that with her to the U.S. and it's really apparent in her work. So she tends to work through series, groups of paintings that develop over time. And so her first big series was called Finding Home, and that was, she came here for graduate school. And actually she has 2 graduate degrees. She had a theater design degree, and then she got her MFA in painting. So the first, in the mid-1990s, she started her Finding Home series, which it is titled appropriately, this idea of coming to a new country. What are you leaving behind? What are you bringing? Who are you? You're sort of without a country.
You're rediscovering.
Yeah, you don't belong. You belong everywhere, and you belong nowhere. And I think these are sort of topics that she continually deals with. And over time, then the use of the color blue became really significant to her. So the people in the paintings initially were not blue, and then I think sort of the late 90s, her first blue, it was kind of a self-portrait, a blue woman. And so sometimes they're sort of self-portraits, but not always, but it's her representation of herself really through the color blue. It's influenced obviously by sort of, there's Indian influence there, so the god Krishna is blue, a darker blue though. And the other thing she said about it is, when she she was searching for a color that could sort of represent her and everyone. And first she's playing with the different colors of brown. She's an Indian-skinned woman, and it didn't really work. And she sort of came on the blue, and then also with blue, she felt like, when you lie on the ground in New Jersey where she lives, and you lie on the ground in India where she came from, the blue of the sky is the same blue. It's not an Indian sky and an American sky. It's one sky. And so
I did read that on her website and thought that was so beautiful, that we're all of us really surrounded by blue. The sky and the sea and everything. Blue is a commonality that we all share.
Yes, and so that really resonated with her. So blue became the color, and now it's very much her signature color for representing people. So that's one thing. So the Finding Home series, it takes on a lot of issues of identity and where you are, and then obviously within that being Jewish, and the blue also represents being a Jewish woman of color, right? So that's something a little different. And then she went on to do some other series, and we in the show will be showing things throughout her career, which is exciting, including one of her earliest pieces done in India before she came here for her graduate degree, because I just loved it and I thought it was a lovely piece. But she then significantly worked on a project called Faces, which was, she won a Fulbright, to go back to Mumbai and to interview and paint the remaining members of the Bene Israel, because so many of them have left India. I mean, one of the things that happened is that, you know, after Israel was established, a lot of people obviously migrated there, and so a lot of the Bene Israel went to Israel, and along with America, I mean, there's plenty in America as well. So the community in India, which is interesting because it was a nice community. Yeah, it was a nice community to live in. And when you think about the anti-Semitism part, you know, I asked her about this. I'm like, well, why did people leave if it was it was a good community to live in? And she said, well, it's complicated. I mean, you know, I think it's true that for Jews around the world, especially at that time, Israel really represented, you know, you're going home. Right. You're going to the homeland. And so, and people thought there would be more opportunities and things like that. And actually, they had quite a difficult time. I mean, there's quite a... It's a transition country. It is. Regardless. And also there was, at that time in particular, there was, I think, a lot of sort of... hierarchical based on the color of your skin in Israel, so Eastern European versus some of the Jewish communities that were coming everywhere. Yes, happens everywhere. So, so she said actually some of them returned to India, but now it's, you know, it's not really like that. So with her Fulbright Scholarship, she went back to capture these faces of the remaining people. And so it's great. I mean, I've actually watched video of her interviewing, you know, some of them, the interviews are in English. And she interviewed at least 50 people, I believe. She may have interviewed more than that and then narrowed down to who she actually painted. And she took photographs, and it's actually, so it's not just straight painting. She really, in terms of the craft, she also likes to push herself in each series and try new things. Right. And so it was photography, collage, and then painting over it. They're really interesting pieces. And so it's the oral interviews that go with them are a huge part that would be wonderful. Yes, of what makes them. I mean, they're beautiful pieces on their own, but then when you read the stories, but you're seeing them and you're knowing them out of the written word too. That's lovely. So it's really a great project. It's a fascinating project. And so will some of those be there? Yes, a bunch of them. And then she actually she's going back. She got another Fulbright. And she's going to be leaving right after this show closes for Israel. So that this Fulbright is to go and interview and represent the Bene Israel who went to Israel. Oh, and how that transition worked. So and you know, I've asked her, do you know like sort of what style you're going to do? And she's not quite sure yet, and she wasn't telling. So you know, it won't be the same as what she did in India. How wonderful! But those are great. And so now she's also working on. Right now, she's really been working on a project on the Syria, you know, based around the Syrian refugees and the refugees, other refugees in the world, that is called Exodus. I see myself in you. And so this idea, I mean, she's really, it is, when we call the title of the show Beyond Borders, it's really because she is working beyond borders. I mean, Siona is very much like a person of the world, I think. And she doesn't make... She really tries hard to not make these distinctions between people, and she struggles very much. You know, I interviewed her for the catalog that we're doing. You know, a lot of what plays out in her work is the dichotomy between things, you know, these opposites of we've become a more global society, we know more about other communities, and at the same time we've become more tribal and more sort of hateful towards other people. And obviously we see that every day. And you know, and I was thinking as you were talking that this is wonderful to be talking about the Jewish artist from India, but in fact, when she's doing this, and when you're presenting it,
yes, she's Jewish, and yes, this is India, and yes, all these things are true. But what you're saying is absolutely right. It isn't. It's Syrian. It's everything. It's not dependent on a faith or a religion or in anything. It's the fact that we are all what and who we are from these various regions, and that we are bumping into each other in all these places, and more now.
Yes.
So that the art is you can't just categorize the art. It's art of mankind, of humankind. That's interesting.
And I think she really
interesting.
transcends those boundaries.
Right.
So she's been collecting images of Syrian refugees, that are out in, photographs that have been taken. And then she does these beautiful little sketches. And then she's had some other, she's moving forward with it. She has some paintings where those sketches then find their way into the paintings. And so it's a work in progress. We're going to be showing the very early, the first things that she's done.
Wonderful.
Right
here in Albany, the very beginning.
None of them have been shown before because
That's
she
amazing.
Literally, it's been the last,
That's wonderful.
year. My guess is that she'll continue, it will develop further, and there will be more. So just based on how she's worked in the past. But the other thing I want to talk about with her work is the feminist aspect, because I think that that's so interesting. And so a lot of, in terms of the concept and the stories, one of the things that really pushed her work initially with the Finding Home series was also that she started studying with rabbis, studying midrash, so really the mythology and the storytelling. She herself would say, well, I think I can say this. I think she would say she's not very religious, and yet she knows so much about sort of the biblical history and the storytelling of it, and she's so fascinated by that. And so it's really interesting. Every piece that she does, there is so much behind it in terms of these stories. And then, along the way, she's resurrected some of the female stories of the Bible. And so women like Lilith, who got a real raw deal in the Bible, Siona takes, and she is not a negative. She's not a yes, she's human. And so, and that strength of women is celebrated. And she also has taken some of the male stories and put female characters in them. So she has this one really significant work called The Four Mothers Who Enter Pardes. Pardes is paradise. And so it takes the story of the four rabbis who entered paradise, and it puts the four mothers in
from a woman's perspective.
And so it's really interesting, and it changes the story a little bit. But what she loves, when she talks about midrash and using it, it's like a bottomless well of stories and myths. And she said that's really from her, like, the Indian background, because myth telling in India is so important, and so there's a part of that then brings in the Indian heritage,
absolutely,
and combines it with the Jewish heritage, and so it's really,
that's what makes it so exciting. I think is those perspectives colliding and becoming something so accessible to more people even. That's great. So I'm guessing that you also, because you usually do, you have a slew of wonderful events and things planned around this. I mean, not only can we come and be embraced by everything you're talking about, but there are special events.
Yes, we do like to keep ourselves busy. So the reception for the exhibition will be on Thursday, September 8th. We normally do our openings on First Fridays. This is a specific choice to do it on a Thursday. Obviously, Friday is the start of Shabbat for Jews, and it does not seem appropriate to do that on a Friday evening. And also, the first Friday of September is Labor Day weekend, and that
people would not be around.
Not a great choice. So, so I hope people will come for that. We're going to combine it, since she has to come up from the city every time there's something going on. We're combining it with her artist lecture. So at 5 o'clock, she'll give a lecture on that Thursday, and then from 6 to 8 will be the reception.
Oh, how nice.
And so she'll be there, so you could see her lecture, and then if you have questions about specific things in the gallery, it's a wonderful opportunity to ask.
Now, I'm going to ask this question, and you're going to surprise everyone when I say, what would an event like that cost to come to?
Oh, free, because we do
And
everything
that's the
free.
surprise. That's the surprise.
Yes, Opalka, I haven't, since I've been there, there hasn't been anything that you have to pay for. Well, we did some films. We tried out and we decided to do away with that, and it's just by donation.
So for this wonderful, wonderful evening of meeting the artist and hearing her speak and having the reception and being able to ask questions to her of pictures and things that are there, it's free.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so is everything else. So we'll also be doing 2 films. We always do a film series, and so the 2 dates that fall within her exhibition will be Indian related. So a really interesting side story that doesn't necessarily have to do with Siona is that a lot of the early Bollywood film actresses were Jewish. And they were from they were Baghdadi or Bene Israel, and so it seemed like a great opportunity to try to show some old Bollywood films.
Oh, yeah.
So one of them is Shri 420, which is a well-known, highly rated early Bollywood.
Wow, fun.
And has
What fun.
features one of the stars is a Jewish actress from the time. That's because in early Bollywood, Hindu and Muslim women it was sort of taboo for them to be on film, whereas the Jewish women, it was like a little more open for them to be able to do that. So it's a really interesting history. Actually, there was just an exhibition in New York on Bollywood, on early Bollywood Jewish film stars. So, and then there will be a second film as well, which we're not 100% decided on the second film yet.
Grand.
It's coming soon, though. So those are both in September, I think September 15th and 29th, I believe. And those are also on Thursday nights at 6:30. And before the one on the 29th, I'll give a curator's tour. So if people couldn't make Siona's
You'll be there
talk,
to tour
I
them.
will try to fill in as best I can. It's always better to hear the artist talk, but
you are very knowledgeable and wonderful to follow through a gallery, so that would be grand.
Thank you. And then we'll have we have one other, let me see, yeah. Our other event isn't specifically related to Siona, although it is related to our overall season. So this year is Russell Sage's Centennial, which is very exciting for the Sage community. So 100 years of educating women. And so part of our driving force this year is to have shows that are female, single artist female shows, and to really focus in on that. It's a good opportunity to do it. We wanted to do it anyways, and might as well do it now. So
celebrate.
Yes. So we normally do 4 artist lectures per term. The second artist lecture, we're giving over to a panel discussion on women in the arts, in visual arts.
How interesting.
Because the women in all the arts, it's kind of too big to take on.
But visual arts.
Yes, and
Very
so we'll be
interesting.
bringing together, we're finalizing our list now, but artists, curators, director, arts administrator, gallery owner, that kind of thing. And so I think that'll be really interesting. That's Thursday, October 6th. So I think that's, lectures, films, tours,
panels,
receptions.
What a huge fall. What an amazing fall event you've got going. Well, I want to take a second, too, because we're not quite sure how we're going to do this, but when you're seeing this, and you probably already have noticed, that there will be some actual pictures, actual artwork from this exhibit that's going to be in August 23rd. If you haven't seen it already, you will by the end of it, I promise you. But some of Siona's work will be shown throughout this interview, and I think that will just give you the tip of the iceberg of an amazing artist with so many different phases. And I was so fortunate to come and talk with Elizabeth and see some of these things a week or so ago, and it's fascinating. You'll be quite fascinated how all these cultures come together in this one woman, and how she's able to express so many aspects of herself and the country that she came from, and her life here in New Jersey, of all places, from India to New Jersey. So I just wanted to mention that these are works of art that you will be perhaps seeing in this very exhibit. So enjoy them. Is there anything else that we've missed? covered quite a lot.
Yes, I think so.
I think we have. I did want to mention. That at the end, as the tape is rolling, you will see the website. It's going to be a brand new website, and all of this information will be on that website. It's www.sage.edu/Opalka, Opalka. They also have a Facebook page.
Yes.
Right?
And a Twitter account.
Wow.
And Instagram. I'm not the one who posts to Instagram, but I know it exists.
They have everything, maybe more than some of
Yes,
us can even
yes.
deal with, but they do have everything, and those things will be running at the end of this taping.
And of course, we have a number of other events farther along in the fall, which will be up on the website as well for people who want to plan ahead. We, of course, are waiting to talk about those until I come back to talk about the next show.
Talk about the next show. I can't
Yes.
wait because her things are always so wonderful. So just to recap, starting August 23rd through
October 9th.
Through October 9th, Beyond Borders, Siona Benjamin at Opalka Gallery, 140 New Scotland Avenue, Albany.
Yes.
And please don't miss it. It's inspiring and exciting, and I'm eager to see some of the Syrian things that she'll be doing too. So I think you will be too. And we'll see them there, right?
Yes.
All right. We'll see you there. Thank you so much for tuning into An Open Door in the Arts. See you next time.